Why didn't you tell me where you'd find him? I didn't know until last night. He called. Left a message wanting me to come pick him up. I was going to bring him to you.
Sure. With a box of his stuff.
I found photos and more kids. Evidence for you to give him more time. I never wanted to see him again. Where did you get the money for this place? I don't know.
Dana.
Did you rent it for him? No, I told you.
That's the reason why. Because we both know Eric didn't have any friends. He had you.
He called and left a message on voicemail saying he wanted to come home, and I called him back and said I'd had enough. Then he was on his own.
You turned him away empty-handed.
No, I gave him $300. I gave him $300.
What you're saying checks out, and you probably won't be charged.
Almost done?
Triangulation takes time, Doc.
Hey, I'm not complaining. The machine creates my court exhibit. He's not going anywhere.
All clear.
From the blood volume on the walls and floor, COD is probably going to be exsanguination. Find a murder weapon?
These cheap knives were in the kitchen. Took 7 blades to finish him off because they kept snapping.
I count at least a dozen stab wounds. A lot of rage.
The killer had to cut himself. That's why I'm hoping all this blood isn't Eric's.
He said he was screaming.
Someone from this neighborhood came forward as a witness.
The victim down 911.
Disposable cell. Couldn't pinpoint his location, but we're getting the tape. The unit was furnished, and the knives were cheap, so Eric probably managed to call 911 after the first blade broke, and the killer wants to get another. How long's the tape?
About 4 minutes.
Can you walk us through how this went down?
Arterial bursts by the kitchen wall show that the attack started here.
No sign of forced entry, so Eric had to know the killer.
These void areas show where the killer stood to stab the victim, got covered in his blood. The blood spatter leads out to the street. We're hoping the blood belongs to the perp.
I notified the hospital to call us with any knife wounds.
Well, that much blood means transfer to himself, his vehicle, his home. There is no way that Sean Kelly cleaned it all up.
What makes you so sure it was Eric's stepfather?
He repeatedly threatened his life and was furious when we offered Eric a deal.
How did Kelly know where Eric was staying when even his own mother didn't know?
Because he left a message at home wanting his mother to pick him up. He didn't know that his parents were split. That doesn't prove Kelly heard the message. We've gotten warrants with less. Those days are over since Casey Novak lied to a judge and got disbarred. Call me when you put Kelly at the crime scene and I'll walk it through myself.
Stab wounds to his back, chest, neck, and arms. The fatal blow was a nicked carotid.
Couldn't have been the first strike since it took him 4 minutes to die.
I count at least 3 post-mortem thrusts. Based on the wound track, your killer's about 6 feet tall, right-handed.
That matches Sean Kelly.
And about 2 million other guys in the city.
The victim was also sodomized with a foreign object. I removed these splinters, CSU identified as northern white ash.
I'm thinking baseball bat, but they're usually milled and coated.
Not if they're homemade. I wouldn't. You don't know where that's been. client sodomized his stepson with his 5-year-old homemade baseball bat. And then he stabbed Eric Byers to death and left him in a pool of his own blood.
I didn't kill anybody.
Sure you did, because he had to pay for the fact that he was a pedophile.
He molested my son.
Tell that to yourself while you're rotting in prison.
You said before you couldn't be sure Eric abused Corey. Now you're saying he didn't?
Your son doesn't react like a victim of abuse because he's never been touched.
The bastard deserved worse than he got. He needed to know what it felt like to be violated. He could dish it out, but he couldn't take it.
But you couldn't stop there, and that's why you took his life.
Anyone who rapes little kids should be wiped off the planet. But I didn't kill him. I left him crying, but alive. What are you selling?
After that performance, nothing.
Well, you might want to reconsider. The jury pool is full of parents.
A boy is dead.
Not my client's problem. He just said he didn't kill him, although he clearly had reason to.
Nothing justifies premeditated murder.
Well, I wouldn't use righteous indignation in your closing arguments for a pedophile, counselor. You'll lose.
Olivia, Kelly go the distance?
Got him on sodomy. He claims that he didn't murder Eric.
Looks like he's telling the truth. Didn't find any blood in his truck or his home.
Even his work crew still matched the prints found at the crime scene.
I heard you had a suspect in custody.
Won't caught to the murder. Why?
I found blood in the corridor that doesn't belong to the victim.
Well, let's swap Kelly and see if the DNA's a match.
Don't bother unless he's a diabetic.
How do you know our killer's a diabetic?
I ran the blood for DNA, and the hemoglobin levels were so high I ran an A1C test. Either the killer doesn't know he's diabetic, or he's not taking enough insulin.
Jake Berlin's a diabetic.
Get his blood, and I'll compare it to the sample from the crime scene.
I thought Berlin was Eric's mentor.
That's what Eric believed.
Then why kill him?
Pull up the PDFX website and let's check the chatter.
Eric did a kid and confessed on the website.
He's nuts. After all the pressure with Corey, he needed an outlet.
The problem is, Eric didn't reveal his victim's name.
You're under arrest for murder, Mr. Berlin.
Yeah, my website, my rules. I said there'd be consequences.
Here, let me explain something to you. No matter what you may think, you are not a hero.
Of course I am. I'm a shining example of how people like me have to live. I did what the Supreme Court refused to do. I made raping a child a capital offense, a life for a life.
Did he murder the boy?
I'm molesting him, Eric killed a spirit, which pretty much did the same thing.
Is that why you butchered his body?
I didn't intend that.
You repeatedly stabbed him after he was dead.
Which is what he deserved. He crossed a line that I would never breach. I know who and what I am. You know, I can't fault the wagon just once. I can't have one. Just one. Why, if I can do it, why can't he?
He was a pedophile.
So am I.
If you've never touched a child, then that makes you a first.
I wouldn't hurt a child.
So you say. But it's my experience, people like you can't control their urges.
It's no. I can't. I never noticed re-release of being with a child. If I did, I couldn't stop. Eric Byers would never stop, so I did you a favor.
Tell me another one. Tell me the victim's name.
I don't know.
Tell me who he is so I can get him some help.
He wouldn't tell me.